reading to you today, and yeah, so this book that I have is somebody gave it to me a while ago. One of my subscribers. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's called The Science of Interstellar. So if you remember the movie Interstellar, this is basically kind of talking about the physics and stuff behind it, and I guess like what's sci-fi and what's not, and stuff like that. So that's basically what it talks a little bit about. It is, again, The Science of Interstellar by Kip Thorne, forward by Christopher Nolan. And so if you want to take a look at that, you can go ahead and check that out if you want to buy it or whatever. Also, before I get into it, I wanted to show you, since we're still in October and we're still doing like Halloweeny themes, I wanted to show you this package that I got in the mail. It's from a company called Happy Socks, and they basically sell really cute patterned socks, and they sent me their Halloween package, and this is so cute. Look at the package that it came in. So cute. And it came with a pair of 3. That's a good sound. Pair of 3 socks. So first pair is this. It's just smiley faces. Good sound. And the next one is vampire mouths or lips. I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna post these on my story as well, or sorry, my Instagram as well. Not my story. Well, I will post it on my story, but I'll post an Instagram thing about it. So if you're not following me on Instagram, go ahead and follow me. My link is always in the description. Check it out. And on Twitter. But this is so cute, and they have the little logo at the bottom of the socks. I just thought the packaging was so stinking cute. I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff too. I mean, y'all know I love Halloween. I love all things Halloween. This kind of just takes the cake. And then I'm currently wearing the socks with this pattern, the pattern that's on the packaging. I'm currently wearing those socks. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really gonna show it because I'm not really, I'm a little bit self-conscious about my legs. So, anyway, let's get started with the reading. I'm gonna post a link to the Happy Socks Instagram in my description, so go ahead and check them out. They don't just sell Halloween socks, although they're still doing that right now, so go ahead and look for that. And if you see anything else you might like, I don't know, you probably will. Go ahead and check it out. Anyway, let's get started reading The Science of Interstellar. And this is just gonna be chill. Just, very chill. doors are raised on the front. Interstellar, 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 Interstellar. If you haven't seen the movie, go see it, okay? We are going to turn to page 127. 127, 127, 127. Sounds like textbook, but it's not. It's just a book. Super interesting. Alright, so the reading that I'm gonna do is from chapter 14, and it's on wormholes. 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 How wormholes got their name. My mentor, John Wheeler, gave astrophysical wormholes their name. He based it on wormholes in apples. And they have a picture of an apple. For an ant walking on an apple, the apple's surface is the entire universe. So this is an example. If the apple is threaded by a wormhole, the ant has two ways to get from the top to the bottom. Around the outside, so through the ant's universe, or down the wormhole. The wormhole route is shorter. It's a shortcut from one side of the ant's universe to the other. The apple's delicious, delicious, delicious interior, through which the wormhole passes, is not part of the ant's universe. It is a three-dimensional bulk, or hyperspace. The wormhole's wall can be thought of as part of the ant's universe. It has the same dimensionality as the universe, 2 dimensions, and it joins onto the universe, the apple's surface, at the wormhole's entrance. From another viewpoint, the wormhole's wall is not part of the ant's universe. It is just a shortcut by which the ant can travel across the bulk from one point in its universe to the other. In 1916, just 1 year after Einstein formulated his general relativistic laws of physics, Ludwig Flam, I don't know, in Vienna discovered a solution of Einstein's equations that describe a wormhole, although he did not call it that. We now know that Einstein's equations allow many kinds of wormholes with many different shapes and behaviors. But Flam's is the only way that is precisely spherical, and contains no gravitating matter. When we take an equatorial slice through Flam's wormhole, so it and our universe have just 2 dimensions rather than 3. And we then view our universe and the wormhole from the bulk. They look like the left part of figure 14.2, and then they have like a picture trying to explain what it looks like. It's pretty cool, actually. With one of our universe's dimensions lost from the picture, you must think of yourself as a 2-dimensional creature confined to move on the bent sheet, or on the wormhole's 2-dimensional wall. There are 2 routes for travel from location short route down the wormhole's wall, or the long route along the bent sheet. Our universe. Of course, our universe is really three-dimensional. The concentric circles in the left part of figure 14.2, again, referring to the diagram, are really the nested green spheres shown to the right. As you enter the wormhole along the blue path from location A, you pass through spheres that get smaller and smaller. Then the spheres, though nested inside each other, cease changing circumference. And then, as you exit the wormhole toward location B, the spheres get larger and larger. For 19 years, physicists paid little attention to Flam's outrageous solution of Einstein's equations, his wormhole. Then in 1935, Einstein himself and fellow physicist Nathan Rosen, unaware of Flam's work, rediscovered his solution, explored his properties, and speculated about its significance in the real world. Other physicists, also unaware of his work, began to call his wormhole the Einstein-Rosen bridge. Wormhole collapse. It is often difficult to extract from the mathematics of Einstein's equations a full understanding of their predictions. Flam's wormhole is a remarkable example. From 1916 to 1962, nearly half a century, physicists thought that the wormhole is static, forever unchanging. Then, John Wheeler and his student Robert Fuller discovered otherwise. Looking much more closely at the mathematics, they discovered that the wormhole is born, expands, contracts, and dies, as shown in figure 14.3, which is showing it doing just that, expanding, contracting, being born, and dying. Initially, in picture A, our universe has two singularities. As time passes, the singularities reach out to each other through the bulk and meet to create the wormhole. The wormhole expands in circumference, C and D, showing the pictures, then shrinks and pinches off, leaving behind the two singularities yet again. The birth, expansion, shrinkage, and pinch off happen so quickly that nothing, not even light, has time to travel through the wormhole from one side to the other. Anything or anyone that attempts the trip will get destroyed in the pinch off. This prediction is inescapable. If the universe were ever somehow to develop a spherical wormhole that contains no gravitating matter, this is how the wormhole would behave. Einstein's relativistic laws dictated. Wheeler was not dismayed by this conclusion. On the contrary, he was pleased. He regarded singularities, or places where space and time are infinitely warped, as a crisis for the laws of physics. And crises are wonderful tutors. By probing wisely, we can get great insights into the physical laws. To this, I return to chapter 26. Oh, right. How much do we have? A little bit, just a little bit. I'm not going to do this whole thing. Okay. Contact. Sorry, that was weird. Fast forward a quarter century to May 1985. A phone call from Carl Sagan asking me to critique the relativistic science in his forthcoming novel, Contact. I happily agreed. We were close friends. I thought it would be fun, and besides, I still owed him one for introducing me to a lady. sent me his manuscript, and I read it. I'm not like reading all of the names because I can't see very well right now. I don't know. My contacts are being weird. Carl Sagan sent me his manuscript. I read it and I loved it. But there was one problem. He sent his heroine, Dr. Eleanor Arroway, through a black hole from our solar system to the star Vega. But I knew that a black hole interior cannot be a route from here to Vega or to anywhere else in our universe. After plunging through the black hole's horizon, Dr. Arroway would get killed by its singularity. To reach Vega fast, she needed a wormhole, not a black hole, but a wormhole that does not pinch off. A traversable wormhole. A traversable wormhole. So I asked myself, what do I have to do to Flam's wormhole to save it from pinching off? To hold it open so it can be traversed? A simple thought experiment gave me the answer. Suppose you have a wormhole that is spherical, but unlike Flam's, it does not pinch off. Send a light beam into the wormhole radially. Since all the beam's light's rays travel radially, the beam must have the shape shown in figure 14.4. Yeah, so it's like bending. It is converging. Its cross-sectional area is decreasing as it enters the wormhole, and it is diverging, or the area is increasing as it leaves the wormhole. Makes sense. The wormhole has bent the light rays outward, as would a diverging lens. A little bit of optics, a little bit of optics reference. Now, gravitating bodies such as the sun or a black hole bend rays inward. They can't bend rays outward. To bend light rays outward, a body must have a negative mass or equivalently negative energy. Recall Einstein's equivalence of mass and energy. From this fundamental fact, I concluded that any traversable spherical wormhole must be threaded by some sort of material that has negative energy. At least the material's energy must be negative, as seen by the light beam, or by anything or anyone else that travels through the wormhole at nearly the speed of light. I call such material exotic matter. I later learned that, according to Einstein's relativistic laws, any wormhole, spherical or not, is traversable only if it is threaded by exotic matter. It follows from a theorem proved in 1975 by Dennis Gannon at the University of California at Davis, UC Davis. Being somewhat illiterate, I was unaware of Gannon's theorem. Now, it is an amazing fact that exotic matter can exist, thanks to weirdnesses in the laws of quantum physics. Quantum physics. Exotic matter has even been made in physicists' laboratories in tiny amounts between two closely spaced electrically conducting plates. This is called the Casimir effect, or Casimir. Anybody who knows that, let me know how to pronounce it. Because I don't know how to pronounce it. However, it was very unclear to me in 1985 whether a wormhole can contain enough exotic matter to hold it open. So I did two things. First, I wrote a letter to my friend Carl suggesting that he send Eleanor Arroway to Vega through a wormhole rather than a black hole, and I enclosed a copy of the calculations by which I had shown that the wormhole must be threaded by exotic matter. Carl embraced my suggestion and wrote about my equations in the acknowledgement of his novel. And that is how wormholes entered modern science fiction, novels, films, and television. published 2 technical articles about traversable wormholes. In our articles, we challenged our physicist colleagues to figure out whether the combined quantum laws and relativistic laws permit a very advanced civilization to collect enough exotic matter inside a wormhole to hold it open. It triggered a lot of research by a lot of physicists, but today, nearly 30 years later, the answer is still unknown. The preponderance of the evidence suggests that the answer may be no, so traversable wormholes are impossible, but we are still far from a final answer. For details, check out Time Travel and Warp Drives by my physicist colleagues, Alan Everett and Thomas Roman. Alright. So, this is the last section I'm going to read. What does a traversable wormhole look like? It's only a couple paragraphs. What does a traversable wormhole look like to people like us who live in our universe? I cannot answer definitively. If a wormhole can be held open, the precise details of how remain a mystery, so the precise details of a wormhole's shape are unknown. For black holes, by contrast, Roy Kerr has given us the precise details, so I can make the firm predictions described in Chapter 8. So for wormholes, I can only make an educated guess, but one in which I have considerable confidence. Hence the simple EG on this section header. Imagine we have a wormhole here on Earth, stretching through the bulk from Grafton Street in Dublin, Ireland. Dublin, Ireland. That was weird. I'm American, I have an American accent. To the desert in Southern California. The distance through the wormhole might only be a few meters. The entrances to the wormhole are called mouths. You are sitting on a sidewalk cafe alongside the Dublin mouth. I am standing in the desert beside the California mouth. Both mouths look rather like crystal balls. When I look into my California mouth, I see a distorted image of Grafton Street, Dublin. That image is brought to me by light that travels through the wormhole from Dublin to California, rather like a light traveling through an optical fiber. When you look into your Dublin mouth, you see a distorted image of Joshua trees or cactus trees in the California desert. Makes sense, I guess, if you can picture that. Alright. I hope you enjoyed that. It was kind of nice to ease my way